here we go. Nothing left to it but to do it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Krusty's Fabrication. Now, on the last video, I will have ended it at a certain point, probably after what you're seeing filmed right now, because I decided while I'm waiting on parts, I want to go ahead and start what would be the next video. Upon looking at this system, I decided I wanted to do kind of a wire tuck. Hopefully, I can get all that finished up and we'll do our test start in this video. So with that being said, let me show you what I got so far. Okay guys, I went ahead and got my upper intake manifold pulled off. I wanted to do that because I want to try to tuck everything neatly up under. I've also got to do all the pigtails like the coolant sensor, the injectors, the coils, all that stuff. I got to make it fit with what I have here. Obviously I got some leaves that I got to pick out manually or figure out some way to blow them out. Something. I'm gonna get that all cleaned up. I'm probably gonna have to do something about this hose loop here, just to kind of show you where I am compared to last video. I still haven't got this side put on. I did have these loosely put on. They're not torqued down, they're just kind of put on, but I do have my proper timing covers. I had to wait on this one in the mail. It got lost in the mail, so that's part of what's been taking me so long to get the final version of the last video out. Hopefully I'll get that done. I had to order a new thermostat housing. I should be getting that within the next couple days from the filming of this. Hopefully it'll be on by the time I do the end of the last video. Off camera, I have come in here and moved the bulkheads that I have here. I'll probably put some kind of insulation thing here just in case something ever comes up in the contacts that's metal. But I had to redo this line going to my starter because it was too short, the one that I had on there. And I went ahead and added a ground coming straight from the battery to the alternator bracket here. I'll have another one, which actually I have the wire for right here. That'll go from that point down there, probably to the engine block. Guys, I'm not messing around on these grounds this time. I'm grounding everything and everywhere. I'm gonna make sure this bad boy runs proper. I went through the process of kind of cleaning it up under here. Got everything kind of taped up. I got my two wires that were kind of messed up, reran here, and I think it's one under here right there. So I got those set up with some spade connectors. I'll probably throw electrical tape over there just to insulate it. Something that I could pull off if I ever need to remove this piece. I went ahead and rerouted this. This is the power wire that goes to my fuse box up under the hood. I started just kind of putting that stuff together just to try to figure out where all the plugs went. I do have a couple wires here that I don't even know what they go to, but I know what plug it is under there. I don't know if you see that one sticking up right there. It goes to that, but I don't know what that goes to. The only thing I could think of is it's something to do with the heater box. I've been trying to find a heater box for this. I thought I had one online that I found on eBay, but it was for a SVX, not an Impreza. So I don't know if it would even fit. I don't want to take the chance. So rather than spend $300 on a box from eBay that I don't even know if it'll fit, I'm just going to do this. I have this extra climate control box out of a Dodge Shadow. Now I know it's not exact, but it is complete. It may work, it may not, but I figure I gotta try it. It operates mostly through vacuum, so I'd have to figure out which one of these vacuums does what. I know some of it goes over here to this one, some of it goes over here to this one. Plugs are a little bit different, so I'd have to figure that out. One of the biggest issues I see And I might even have it somewhere around here, but it's broken right here, which if I come here, it's like a flapper assembly that goes down into the actual box. So this may or may not work. I might be able to just take this off, close this up. This is the vent that goes in to pull the air into the box, so I guess it pulls air in through here, through the motor, comes through here, comes this way. There's a flapper valve here to direct flow, but honestly, I just want it to go, I'm thinking up to here, because then this would go up to the defroster, because I really only want it for the defroster. Although it would be nice to have air conditioning eventually, so I don't know. This may not get thrown in, but it is an option that I'm considering, and we'll revisit that when the time is right. Now going back on this, now that I've got all that kind of cleaned up in there and kind of figured out what goes where, I'm considering, if you see over here, I've already rerouted stuff. Let me see. I got this one right here with the smaller wire, and then I got the bigger wire coming from the ECU right here. I'm considering rerouting all this back through there and going out the side and then coming up somewhere over here, maybe through this big hole, and trying to do as much of a tuck as possible, try to clean that up as much as possible, because I just don't like this rat's nest. It looks like a bundle of snakes in here to me. There's not much I could do about the fuel lines, but maybe I could do something with the wires. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. Oh, I don't really know what that is. I think it's maybe a fuel or a brake fluid level sensor or something, but I don't think my system has that. This the brake master cylinders for a 03 Outback, and I'm not sure where that would plug in. There might be something on my harness, but I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out later. Also need to make a mount for this so it's officially mounted. Preferably at a place that I can, like, maybe like that, so that I can properly adjust it when the time is come. Maybe over this way so there's less rubbage. I need to cut this shorter because that's going to be too long. This is my vacuum feed for all the vacuum. Okay, this goes this way. That's my Y. Not much I could do with that. Now I can clean this up a little bit. Let's work on this real quick. All right, guys, let me show you what I got here. Went ahead and rerouted the alternator, power, and ground wires. Feel like the cleanest way to do it is through here, up under the water, like crossover pipe, and then right here. Now, some of you keen-eyed viewers that kind of know what's going on might be a little worried about this wire being so close to right here, because the crankshaft sensor is here. I'm gonna do my best to run the crankshaft sensor over on this side. We'll see when I actually get to fishing through stuff. This might change, but for right now, I like the way this looks because it's there, but it's nicely tucked. So we'll say that part. Later on, once I get that mounted properly, I might see if I can maybe take some length out of the return hoses, but we'll see once it gets there. I think I did it extra long on purpose just in case I needed to move it or something. So once I get it properly mounted, I might shorten the returns to the thing there and see how it works. Again, just more straightening out. Also, if you're a little more curious, I might have said it in a previous episode, but we'll go over my fuel system. I do have a Walbro 255 in the gas tank, and then obviously you can see it comes out of here, and I had to do this funky little thing right here just because where I wanted to put this, I couldn't really make it work. I did originally have the original deal here, but I wanted an aftermarket one that I could change here. I just like the way that this one looks more so than the factory one. So feed in here, coming through there, and then you'll see it comes out through here, and then it goes to a Y fitting here, which then splits out and goes to the front of each side fuel rails. Goes to my injector dynamics fuel rails, and then each side on the back returns to the fuel pressure regulator, and then it comes out the bottom and goes back to the tank. Alright guys, I think this is about as close as I'm gonna get to being wire tucked. So it's probably about as clean as it's gonna get. I've got right here is my idle air control valve. You've got throttle position sensor right here. Everything's run up under the fuel lines. I've got everything tucked up under the water neck as well as the main power and ground here. Obviously a little junky here, but it's under the intake so nobody will see it. I got one of my injectors here. I'm assuming it goes on this side. One injector here. I'm assuming it goes there. Follow this over to a tight fit on my cam sensor. I have my coils run through the intake here and just up over the head. They kind of tuck in nicely into this little trough here. So I'm going to just let that little bit of wire right here be seen on each side. And then you have the main harness here, for whatever reason wants to be here. And I think he said it was supposed to be, or it was originally that way. So I'm going to tuck this somehow over here or something, and we'll try to run the big harness. I think we're going to tuck it back through the firewall, run it up into that fender here. For the stuff that needs to be on this side of the engine, I think I'm going to run it through that hole here. And the rest I'm going to try to run along the bottom of the radiator core support until I get over here. And then I'll be able to plug this end right into there. Now, don't remember what this is. I want to say that's a O2 sensor bung, I think. So I may need to do something about that. Either get the factory deal and just do a really long wire all the way up into the area where it goes, or figure something out. I think there's another O2 sensor port over on this side somewhere. I had to look for it. It was hanging there, but that's when I had everything plugged up right over here. But similarly, got my coil packs coming out there for this side, injectors. The plug on this side again wants to come out the front for some reason, so we're going to try to tuck that along the top of the timing cover, come over here so they can plug in to this, because this is pretty close proximity to all this. So we'll work on it a little bit by little bit. I do have to probably just get some nuts for this one because it ended up stripping out. I think this one too. The rest of them are threaded into the intake manifold. I still got to make my wire connections strip crimp. I'm gonna wait on that before I put the intake manifold back on. I think we might be at a stopping point for today. Alright guys, I did the best I could. This is probably going to be the finished product, honestly. As you can see, I've moved the wires from there, pulled them back through there, ran them in through there. I was going to try to get this side over here run along the radiator core support, but it just wasn't long enough, and I'm not trying to extend wires. So I just ran it all through there and then kind of looped it around and went right there. So there's minimal wiring showing. And then most of it's going to be tucked up under the intake right here. I still got to make the connections for these. That was the boost control or boost duty solenoid or whatever they call it. I still got to make my injector plugs, my temperature sensor plug, my coil plugs, and my throttle position sensor plug work with this harness. Other than that, show you what I did. I just kind of run the wiring harness tucked along here. That came out that hole right there. I do got to grommet. I'm gonna have to figure out how to try to make it work. It actually almost looks like it was made for doing that too, because when I come in here, instead of having this kind of run under here and then kick out right here to go up where it was right there, or actually it was right there, and now it just kind of comes up, kicks up. I have better access to these if I need to unplug anything, because they're right here and I can just kind of pull them up, tuck them out the way, and then it just kind of goes out that hole right there. Like I said, I don't think this grommet will fit because that's made for that hole right there. I do have this grommet, which was originally for that hole. I can make a slice right here and just kind of fit it around the wire and push it into place. That's probably what I'll do, honestly. And then I need to figure out a way to plug up them holes right there. I'll probably figure out how to plug these heater core hoses up too. At least for the time being, I can maybe get some kind of temporary plug system in place. I need to insulate that side on both the outside and the inside, just in case anything metal kicks it. I don't want to short anything out, so I want to get some plugs on those or some kind of insulation caps. I think I'm gonna wrap everything up for today. I'm gonna come back on the next little scene. I'm gonna go ahead and look at the wiring diagrams that I do have, see if I can't find what wires go where to, you know, computer, ground, all that stuff, and then I'll make my connections then. I'm trying to do this right. I want to do it the first time and make it work without having to go back and backtrack as much as I have already. So let me check my diagrams and we'll come back to get all the plugs set in place. We'll get everything wrapped up and hopefully before the end of this video, maybe do a test fire. Not necessarily going to drive it, but I just want to fire it up and see if it's going to run properly and not spit and sputter like it was on the standalone. So with that being said, I'll be right back. Alright guys, we're going to get back on the wiring today. I went ahead and jumped ahead, just did cylinder number 1 for both the fuel injector, and I just finished doing the coil pack conversion. Like I said, I'm going from the standard Subaru coils over to my LS coils, and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, starting with the injectors. If you look here in the wiring harness, I'm having to go from the standard Subaru injector over to these, I think they're called US car or EV something, or it's a different aftermarket style plug, so that's why I'm doing this. And when I got to looking through the wiring, what I'll notice, here's one of the factory plugs right here. If you look here at the wiring colors, you'll notice blue and yellow. I had black and yellow. If I come over to this other side, I have, it's kind of hard to pull this back on camera, but I have a green and yellow. And over here, I have another blue and yellow. The blue having, looks like a black stripe. So, being that all 4 of these have a yellow wire, I looked on the wiring diagram, all of the injectors have a shared ground. So that yellow is my ground, which is why here on this deal, I have it hooked up to the black, and then this is the signal wire on the red. There is a plug-and-play option that several companies make. I'll show you it right here. It just adapts the factory harness over to this style harness right here, so you wouldn't have to do that. But it's like 80 bucks to get all 4, so I just opted to do this because I'm just ready to get it going. Coming around to the coils, you can see I've already have cylinder number 1 done. That's this coil right here. This is the factory plug, as you can see. These are the factory wiring colors. It might be different on yours. I know from what I've been reading, Subaru isn't very very good at keeping the same colors across all cars, so we'll see about that. But so what I've noticed, and I had to do my research, if you're looking at this plug like this and you're trying to figure out which wire goes where, the side of the wire that has this clip on it is going to be the side that has your signal wire. So this red wire right here would be my signal wire because it's closest to the actual clip. The middle wire, in this case it's actually black, is your ground wire. So middle wire black, signal wire from the ECU is closest to the clip, and your power wire, or 12 volts, is furthest away from the clip. That's the easiest way to remember these 3. Now where it gets a little different going over to the LS coils, let's see if I can unplug this. The LS coil is a 4-wire setup. So how do you get 3 to go to 4? Well, luckily, the LS coils have 2 ground wires. As you can see, I have them twisted here together, and that is going to my ground wire here. If you're looking specifically, and now these are also the round style truck coils. I don't know if it differs from the square style. I wouldn't think it would, but just in case, round style truck style coils. Now if you're looking at this, the LS coil plug has A, B, C, D listed on here. A and B are your grounds. C is your coil signal from the ECU, and D is your 12 volts in, your power. And as you can see, I have that. C is my purple wire. That is plugged into this red wire from my factory harness, which, as you'll see here on this red wire closest to the clip, that's my signal wire. And then this one, it just so happened to be that the pinkish red wire was my power wire, which goes to the yellow wire here. Now let's get this heat shrinked up. We'll go on to this one and make this modification for this coil. Alright guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these heat shrinks up here and shrunk into place. I'm gonna use a heat gun. It's one I've had forever, but it works. I feel, especially when I'm sitting here working around the fueling system, as you got your fuel injectors right here, probably best not to have an open flame, even though this hasn't been started in probably a couple months. That's just a safety thing. As far as crimps are concerned, I used to be that guy that was like, you gotta solder and heat shrink, blah blah blah. Well, some of you may know of a drag racer that has a blue tourist show that he calls the Blue Turd. I was following him on Facebook, and he made a very valid argument on why crimps are better. Obviously, these aren't the exact crimps that you would use in automotive, but they do serve the same purpose. These are just uninsulated butt connectors, or barrel connectors, whatever you want to call them, and then they come with heat shrink. I get them from AutoZone. It's about 12 bucks for a pack of, I think, 10. And they work really well. I use these type of pliers to crimp them down, because this little set right here, this little jaw right here, is perfect for these style butt connectors. As you can see, it leaves them pretty round, so you get that nice finished look. I actually crimped these up here with just a set of channel locks before I got that tool. But yeah, it just puts a nice little divot in there, gives a nice even like half arc, half moon crimp, and it's going to look fairly decent when I heat shrink over them. Now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but these aren't quite small enough of a heat shrink to go over these wires. I may have actually gotten one size too big on the connectors, but they're working out pretty good. I knew I was going to have to do a deal like this where I have a double wire going in, so that's part of the reason why I went a little big. But let's go ahead and get these finished up. Alright, so that's these three, properly crimped and heat shrunk. I am going to throw some electrical tape over these connections, especially right here on the ends, because that'll kind of help, you know, prevent moisture from getting in. And then I'll eventually put one of those nice little wire, like braided wire looms over it. But for now, we just going to go ahead and get that plug back in and move on to the next one. Okay, so this will be a slight bit different. It looks like I still do have the yellow wire for the power and the black wire for the ground, so that's probably going to be standard across all of the coils, the yellow power and black ground. But obviously you can see here, blue is my signal on this one. Now this is going to be a little harder because of me trying to tuck this harness. I'm also trying not to cut it off too far close to the thing, because I am going to try to give these back to the guy I got the harness from, just in case he wants to use them. I've done the same. Got about the same amount here for the injector plug that I pulled off. I'm going to try to go up somewhere around here, but that is going to make it kind of difficult, so I might split the difference and maybe somewhere around this little red line right here. I got to give myself enough working space. I think also going to try to figure out how to access that plug on the coil pack. Alright. Now the fun part. This is always the most stressful part, because you know this setup works. But as soon as you snip these wires, that's where the fun part begins. So we gotta go snip, snip, and snip. Not leaving a whole hell of a lot, but that should be enough for you to be able to strip wires and do a connector. It's also enough to identify what's what. Now I've got these wire strippers. They're cheap, so they're not perfect, but they work. Now what I might do, just to make this a little easier, I think I'm gonna pull it back through this side. Just to give me some length to work with. Then I'll fish it back. I think actually I'm gonna go ahead and cut this thing down a little bit. Guys, wiring, it's not hard. It can be overwhelming when you have a bunch to do all at once, and when it's a pile of wires just sitting there staring at you. But it's not really hard. It just takes a lot of patience. Helps if you're OCD, and if I'm being honest, I think I might be a little autistic. Never been tested for it, but I do show symptoms of it sometimes. I feel like that level of concentration that comes from autism sometimes, and like, what do they kind of hyperfixate on stuff? That might help. Okay, I'm not gonna go too deep because these butt connectors, they don't go too deep. So I don't know if you can see this. That's not, maybe, I don't even know if that's a full 1/2 inch. 3/8 of an inch maybe. Okay. Guys, what I'm gonna do, see if I can line this up. I like to foot, there's a little slot right there. I don't know if you can see it. I like to foot that facing up at the part that's going to push down on it, and then I like to try to get it as close to flush as possible right here, so it just looks like this. Again, that little notch, I don't know if you see it, facing up against the thing that pushes down on it. I'm just going to fix the first one. We'll do the signal wire first. I'll stick it in there, try to not go fast where the wire sheath is pulled off, and then just squeeze like there's no other, like your life depends on it. Just squeeze, make sure it don't flow out, give it a couple squeezes. Now that's another reason why I like this. These just happen to be the perfect size for these, that they get you know, when you push them in there, they get nice and tight, so you actually have to pop them back out. Like, it takes a little bit of force, but it gives a nice crimp there, and that's what I'm wanting. Again, we're gonna try to get lined up perfect as we can. Got to try to make sure that now we keep those out. This one is the signal wires, so we're gonna go with our blue. That's the other thing to crimping these, to keeping the consistency. That's part of the reason why I go with that little line up, so that I can mirror image it to the other side and keep it crimped on the same side for both. After this this side is done, I still got to do the other injector. Alright, now just fish it back through. And plug her back in. Alright guys, I just had to take a little break, get some dubby. This time I've got the Lunar Margarita. It's a strawberry margarita, non-alcoholic of course. And guys, when I'm telling you this stuff is the real deal, when it comes to energy and no crash, delicious taste. You got to try it for yourself, man. Get you some down in the link description to help your boy out, or go to w.gg and use code Krusty'sFab at checkout for 10% off, and you'll be helping your boy. Let's get back to the action. Alright, let's go. Alright guys, one of the other things that I just realized that I probably should tell y'all, if you are doing like a motor swap or something and you have a harness that's not already attached to the engine and you're trying to identify which plugs go where, I had to look that up a lot myself. So both with the injectors and with the coils, the lighter colored connector is going towards the front of the engine. So I think on mine it was a white connector for the number 1 and 2 coil packs, a black connector for the 3 and 4. You'll see here for the 3 and 4 connector on the injector, I have a black one, and I think it was a gray one on the 1 and 2, which actually, yeah, I don't know if you can see it from over here, but this is the number 2 injector, which is gray. So those go towards the front, lighter to the front, darker colored connectors to the back. It's not always going to be black and white. It might be light gray, dark gray. It just depends on your harness. I think it's funny, guys. So as shaky as my hands are, you'd think that wiring would be damn near impossible for me, but you know, some people are just into certain things, and for whatever reason, the very detail-oriented, must focus and must concentrate aspect of wiring just, it's almost zen to me. So as much as I hate to get into stuff like what was under my dashboard, this stuff is just, I don't know, it does something good for me. It's relaxing. I can just kind of kick back and chill. And being that this is not a car that's on a time frame, even though I'd like it running as soon as possible, I don't have to rush through this, so I can sit here and take my time, make sure I do things correctly. We got our ground right here, snip, and our signal here. Go ahead and strip these back. And on to the plugs. Guys, I don't have enough of the butt connectors to finish up today. I already went through my first pack of, well, they say 20, but I think they're counting them as 10 connectors, 10 heat shrinks. Because I just used 6 of each on that first 2 coils there. There's 2, that's 8 total, and I think I used 1 or 2 under the dashboard. Matter of fact, I know I used 2 under the dashboard. I used 1 to hook the fuel pump relay back up, and I used 1 to fix a wire that was going to the power door lock harness. I think it was the door locks anyways. It went into there on the driver's side. There was a wire that had been, we'll say, exposed and just weathered. It was frayed. I think it was holding on by 1 single strand of copper. So I just fixed it. Now I think I have enough to finish up the coils on that side and maybe this thermostat, but I don't have enough to do the thingies over there. So I think I'm gonna just work my way from the passenger side that way, and when I run out I'll have to pick up on the next day. So let me go look up the wiring diagram on this terminal right here, as well as for, I think it's this terminal, and we'll get this wired into the connector. I'll be right back. Alright guys, I got a little worried when I went in there to look at the pinouts for the coolant temp sensor, because I was looking through the pinouts for the ECU that's in this car, and I saw that there was supposedly 3 different pins going into the ECU regarding the injectors. I saw one that said injector power, one that said injector ground, and then signal. So I was like, I only have 2. So I started looking things up, worried that what would happen if I had these flip-flopped. And according to Horsepower Academy, which is this like learning program that you can do online to learn how to do ECUs and race car related stuff, it does not matter which direction you wire an injector in, because it acts like a solenoid. It's just on or off, and they're not polarity sensitive. So apparently even if you flip these wires around and wire them backwards, it's still gonna work. And so I got to looking at the GM coolant temp sensor as well as this one, and I come to find out that it works the same way. It's just a resistor that on or off. So that being said, I'm not even gonna have to worry too much about what wire goes where on this coolant temp sensor. But just to make matters easy, I got this because at one point I did have the wiring diagram for this this sensor, which is why I know that this one was ground, which in this case, if I untwist the wires, is on the right side of this. So what I'm gonna do when I snip these off, oh, also that's the signal wire coming from my Speedy. So when I snip these off to merge them in, I'm just gonna match the plug side to side with the clips side. So this wire over here is gonna be the ground, because that's the ground here, and vice versa. So let me get that done. All right. So in this case, since I decided I wanted to line them up like this, my ground for this case, luckily enough, is going to be this black wire right here with the yellow stripe, and the green wire will be my signal. So that being said, let's get it wired up. Also guys, before I go on, just because I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I got this out here enough, but this is my throttle position sensor. Since it's 3 wires, I'm gonna try to depin this one instead of using connectors. I'm gonna try to depin this one and just pin it into the other style connector. See if that'll help. I would have done the same with this, but there's not long enough wires, and you know. Keep in mind guys, when doing wiring, you're gonna get those bougie guys that think you have to have a $400 set of pliers to do crimping properly. And maybe if you're wanting to do it with the specific connectors that they use in racing and this and that, then sure, yeah. But if you're just doing it as a hobbyist like I am, you're just trying to get a car running, maybe you're a grassroots motorsports, you don't have a lot of money. These were like 20 bucks at AutoZone, and barrel connectors, you know, they're like $12 for a 10 pack with the heat shrink. So, you know, give and trade. Sometimes it costs more, and sometimes it's just, you know, buy what you can afford. Don't listen to the snobs that think you have to have the most expensive parts, the most expensive tools. When I started doing my apprenticeship at a full-service shop, the master tech that I was training under was one of those snobs that think you have to have snap-on tools for everything. And I started there with, I think it was like an $89 set of Husky tools from Home Depot. And there really wasn't anything that he wanted me to do that I couldn't do with those Husky tools. Granted, there were some tools I had to buy along the way, specialty stuff, and yeah, but you don't have to have the most expensive everything. Even if you're doing it for a living, you don't have to have the most expensive ones. That's just wasting money in my opinion. But who am I to judge? If you like snap-on tools, get some snap-on tools. I've got a set of snap-on pliers and a set of snap-on wire cutters, but I got those free with the purchase of a snap-on impact gun when I was working there. Now granted, you might run into some tools that are so cheap quality that they really show it. Like, I hate to bash on AutoZone because I do work there, but that OEM brand for the impact, granted I had it for a couple years and it worked just fine. It was a corded impact 120 volt, but man, it gave up the ghost. And it was sudden. Alright, let's get this enough yapping about tools and wasting money. I know I wasted enough on this car. Good Lord. Get that bad boy crimped down nice and tight. Oh, guys. I forgot to put the... Oh, man. Wonder if I could open that up a little bit. Alright, be right back. Alright guys, hopefully this works. I had forgotten to put the heat shrink on that wire after I crimped it. So what I did is I took this pick and stuck it down in there, wiggle it around, try to open up a little bit. I got the wire to pull out. So we're gonna put the heat shrink back on it and hope that we can re-crimp it. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to waste a plug or a crimp. All right, so let's try this again. Get that bad boy. Hopefully, this will do okay, and I can just re-crimp it. That boy back in there. Okay, I was able to get it back in. Well, it crimped down good enough. Do that. Slide it out a little bit. Now, did it hold? Yeah, it held. All right, cool. So, I guess there's a way to, if you forget your crimp, if you're careful, you potentially could take it back out and re-crimp it. Just gotta be very careful with it. Alright, let's get this one set up. Alright guys, I'm gonna get this fish back up under here. Got a little extra length on it now. Alright, that's that. In the spirit of moving from left, or from passenger to driver side, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to see about depinning this one real quick. Alright guys. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do here, I'm going to try to remove this yellow deal here with this pick. I got to try to figure out how it comes out. I think you can get under here and like somehow, might even take more than just one tool. Or just less shaky hands, maybe. Feel like you lift up on that. Because that's like the lock tool. Let me go get another pick. I don't know how I'm gonna do this and hold it. Be a lot easier if I didn't shake. There we go. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. So now with this, should be able to come down here and like, maybe I use this other one. Should be able to come in here maybe it's right here and pick these and depin them. So it's like a little notch right here. Push it over to the side and pull the wire out. I don't know if you're seeing that, but a little slot right here, you just kind of push the tab over, pull the wire out, and that's it. I got this one depinned. Now we're gonna try to pin it in to the other one after I try to do the same thing with it. Okay guys, now this is the plug I'm trying to pin them into. As you can see, I already have these plugs now. I don't remember exactly which one these are, except for this black one obviously in the middle is the ground, because I had pinned this in from the Speedy, and this one has a eyelet on it, so that meant it was the ground. I just grounded it straight to the engine block. And then I think, but I'm not sure, I'm going to double check, I think the gray is a 5 volts and the blue is the signal wire from the ECU. So I'm gonna go double check that. I wired these in originally from the Speedy. Like this gray and blue wire are actually from the wiring harness that the Speedy offered. So that's how I was able to get these. I did have the original O2 WRX throttle position sensor pinout, but I've lost it since. I don't know what happened to it. I think it got lost when I had a computer get fried. So I already know what this one is supposed to be based on the references from the Speedy and the fact that I have an eyelet there for a ground. So I know these ones. I got to figure out the pins for that one. So I'm going to look up the wiring harness that I have, or the wiring diagram I have, see if I can find that. If I can't find that, then I'll have to do it the old-fashioned way where I test with a multimeter. And I might have to actually plug up my battery for that and see if I can find like a 5 volt, and then maybe another one that doesn't, maybe continuity on one, so on and so forth. So with that being said, I'm gonna go look that up and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I can't actually find what I did with the old plug for this one. I was gonna put it back together to Purdue, but if I'm being honest, it was already kind of messed up anyway, so it's probably best that he just gets a new one. I'm gonna just go ahead and slice these off, and with the fact that I'm not saving that original plug for him on this one, I'm just gonna give myself as much leeway as possible. Alright guys, like I said, lighter color goes to the front, darker color goes to the back. go ahead and move some of this stuff out of the way so I can access this one. I was lucky, and the coil packs, I guess, mounted backwards or something, so these are easily accessible here. I'll start on the front. This is the last one we're doing for today, and we'll just get her done. Okay guys, I got to be very careful on this one. Don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but both my 12 volt and my signal wire to the LS coil are the same color pretty much, slightly darker on the signal color. So for the time being, I've left the signal, like the marker on here, and we'll do that first actually, just get it done. Because if you remember right, signal closest to the clip here, power opposite side. Alright, I might need to get a new coil pack if that ever causes an issue. Alright guys, I'm gonna call it there for today. I've run out of butt connectors and heat shrink, so I gotta re-up on that, and I should be able to finish this up. Also, my battery's dead, just about. I think I got like 7% left, and I'm almost out of recording. It just cut off on me there, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here. Be right back on the next day. Alright guys, I figured I'd bring you back and kind of show you what I've done while I was away. I went ahead and finished wiring in all of the coils, all of the injectors. I went ahead and wired this in. This is the twin turbo's boost controller for the primary turbo. I think I'm going to make a bracket to mount it here. I think it originally mounted behind the thing there because it had a really long wire. I went ahead and kind of shortened that wire up a little bit because that was the wire that was kind of over here that was just broken. I wired in my throttle body connection. I wired in my, I think it's down there, the GM coolant temp sensor. I still got the factory gauge coolant switch or whatever you call it. I do have my factory oil pressure gauge. Some of the ones that I gotta figure out, and it might be part of the twin turbo system. I got this long wire. Again, some of it used to have labels, and I can't quite make out anything on this label, so I don't know what this is supposed to go to. So I do got a wiring diagram, but it really only shows the pinout for the ECU, so that could be anything. And something I found out in this project, Subaru never really cared about keeping things consistent with colors, so the pinout does me no good as far as colors are concerned. I think this plug right here is the rear O2 sensor, which sits on the secondary's turbo's downpipe. I do have the upstream O2 sensor right here, which sits kind of down there in the crossover pipe on the twin turbo setup. So if I plan to use this one, I'll have to cut this pigtail off, make an extension to come over here. Got this. That's probably gonna have to be, sorry guys, had to make a cut there because somebody was playing some copywritten music and it's pretty loud. I can still kind of hear it. Anyways, probably have to extend this out. I think this might go to something revolving around the primary or the secondary turbo, I think. So that might need to be extended. Got a couple grounds here. I need to figure out where to ground that out. Pretty much anywhere on the body probably. So I'll have to make a proper ground for this. As you can see, I went ahead and pulled the wiring harness from here. I think I had some of it going through here, some of it going through there, something like that. I cleaned it up to where only the wiper blades, or the wiper motor, and the starter switch, and I think that's like a brake switch, but there's like a couple grounds over there as well. That's the only thing coming through the firewall through this one. That's my AEM O2 sensor, the wideband deal. Since it won't work with the ECU, I think I'm just going to run it standalone so I can monitor the fuel ratio. Also, coming over here, this is the, I think they call it a differential pressure switch. That's what controls the secondary turbo coming online. So I went ahead and got that put there and plugged in. I do got to re-tap this hole because the thread's stripped out, so it's not very tight. So I'm gonna get that probably re-threaded, maybe a bigger bolt through there. I got to figure out an intake system to come to here from the throttle body. It's either that or this is somewhat long enough to kind of set here and put some kind of goopy air cleaner thing there. Still got to make a mount for the fuel pressure regulator. I want it kind of somewhat vertical so I can access the fuel pressure. I might make a bracket that bolts here to the factory bracket, or maybe I'll even take this bracket off and weld it up so that I can utilize these holes that I had originally put in for a previous fuel pressure regulator that I used. Got all my big wires run, starter positive. I got a big ground wire going to the negative. Got a big ground wire coming from here, the motor block to the battery. I just got this tiny one right here going body to block. As you'll see, I still haven't finished doing the timing as of this recording, and this also gives it away that I'm filming 2 videos at one time right now, because by the time this video comes out, all that will have already been done, and pretty much the next clip you'll see from this edit on this video will be me doing a test fire, hopefully. Moving on to here, I had to fix these 2 wires. They were going to my fan relay. I think I had tried to tap into those with my Speedy EFI. I might have had the wrong ones because it never worked. So that's why I ended up running a standalone relay system for the fan. I still got to look back at what this does. I don't remember what this does. I think it goes here somewhere. I'm just not finding it. Or maybe it was another option that I don't have plugged in right now or something. I don't know. I might tape it out of the way. I got to get the cover back on this. Put my fender back on. Yeah. So that's what I've been up to so far. Oh, yeah, I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the video, of this clip. I think I'm going to make a bracket to bolt that to the side here. Even though it's kind of exposing stuff, it still looks pretty clean in that position, as long as it doesn't get anything wet, into anything's way. I wish I could make it cleaner up under this hood, but I just don't see it being possible with everything I'm trying to do. There goes the popo or an ambulance or something. Gotta love living in this area. Alright guys, so that's everything I've been up to so far. Like I said, when I bring you back from this next clip, that's gonna be when we're gonna try to test fire. Obviously you can see I'm filming 2 videos at once, doing the timing with the AVCS delete as well as the wiring swap and everything on a different video. At least it gets me ahead, hopefully. And yeah, so hopefully you've seen me finish the timing, and on the next clip I'm gonna bring you back for the test start. So be right back. Alright guys, First off, I want to apologize to you for doing some work off of camera, trying to get this thing ready to go. But I was just so excited, and as you can see from the background, it's been raining all day. So I kind of took this spot where it's not really raining. There's a couple drops coming down, and I put everything back together. As you can see right here, got everything ready to go. I hope that this is ready for a test start. I'm gonna try it. Hopefully this works. I don't have any radiator any coolant in the radiator currently. I still don't have a idle air control valve, and my O2 sensors are not hooked up. The black box of death for the twin turbo, I only have the map sensor line hooked up currently. So I don't even know if this is gonna run. If it does, I don't know how well it's gonna run. So with that being said, let's get this thing test started. Power's live. Okay guys, wish me luck. Keep in mind, my gauges probably are not working right now. Let's go ahead. We want to put her in neutral just in case of anything. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm nervous. I hope I've done everything right. So ready? Pump on. Okay, I got the pump wired correctly. Here we go. Nothing left to it but to do it. Looks like we failed today's, guys. Alright guys, I hate to end the video on such a disappointing note. I've been working hard to get this thing going, and now I'm not sure what the issue is. It could be lots of things. I could have maybe one of the sensors wired wrong. Honestly, I could be out of fuel. Gauge don't work, so I can't tell. And I did go through a lot of fuel trying to do it on the Speedy EFI, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video off right here. Sucks to be on a sad note, but we got a lot of work done. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. Come back. Hopefully we'll get this thing running on the next video. And until next time, have a good day. Peace.